The smell of burning oil filled her nose before the pain did. Amara Boudreau opened her eyes inside a car that no longer looked like a car. The dashboard had folded toward her like a hand closing into a fist. Glass sparkled on her lap like spilled sugar. Her left shoulder screamed when she tried to move it, so she stopped trying. Somewhere far away, a man was shouting her name. Travis. Her husband. She could hear his footsteps slapping against the wet road. She wanted to call out, to say she was alive, but her tongue felt heavy and her ears were ringing. So she closed her eyes again, just for a second, and waited. What happened next was the part she would think about every night for the rest of her life. Travis reached the car. She could feel the heat of his body near the cracked driver's window. She waited for him to grab her hand, to pull her face up and whisper that everything would be all right, to cry even. Travis cried at everything. He cried at their wedding. He cried when their daughter Sienna learned to read. He cried over basketball games on television. But on that rainy night, on the soft shoulder of Maybank Highway, with his wife bleeding inside a crumpled Honda Pilot, Travis Pinkney did not cry. He did not grab her hand. He did not even check her pulse. He picked up her purse from the passenger seat. She heard the zipper. She heard him rifling through the pockets. She heard the small click of her phone being unlocked because the screen lit up when his thumb pressed against the home button. She heard him scrolling, tapping, deleting. Then she heard him slide the phone into his own back pocket. He took her wallet next, then her keys, then her wedding ring, which had come loose because her fingers were swelling. He slipped it off her hand like a man clearing a table after dinner. Only then did he start screaming for help. Amara kept her eyes closed. She kept them closed when the paramedics arrived. She kept them closed when they cut her seatbelt and slid the board under her back. She kept them closed when Travis told the officer, in a voice shaking with practiced grief, that he had been on his way home from a business meeting when he saw the car against the tree. She kept them closed because if she opened them, she would scream, and if she screamed, she would tell every truth she knew, and every truth she knew was a weapon she was not yet ready to use. 12 years of marriage, one daughter, one business she had built from a single oven in her mama's kitchen, one house her grandmother had left her on James Island, one bakery downtown that had belonged to her daddy, and one man who, given the chance to save her life, had instead emptied her pockets. By the time the ambulance reached Roper Hospital, Amara Boudreau had a plan. She would not tell them what she had seen. Not yet. She would let her body heal. She would let her husband believe she remembered nothing. And she would watch. Quietly. Carefully. She would watch what a man does when he thinks his wife's mind is a blank page. She would watch what her family does when they think the woman who feeds them, prays for them, and holds them up has finally been laid flat. She would watch every single one of them. And when she had seen enough, when she had counted every betrayal and weighed every kindness, she would rise from that bed and she would burn down every lie they had ever told her. She just did not know yet how many lies there would be. The fluorescent lights at Roper Hospital hummed like a sick beehive. Amara woke up properly the next morning with a thick neck brace, a swollen left shoulder, and a long row of butterfly stitches across her forehead. Her mouth tasted like metal. A nurse with kind eyes was checking her bag. "Mrs. Pinkney, can you hear me?" Amara opened her mouth. Then she closed it. She thought about the wedding ring sliding off her finger. She thought about the zipper of her purse. "Where?" she whispered. "Where am I?" "You're at Roper Hospital, baby. You were in a car accident last night. Do you remember your name?" Amara waited a long moment. She let her eyes drift across the ceiling tiles. She let her face go soft and confused, the way her grandmother used to look when she was searching for a memory that had wandered off. "I don't," she said. "I don't know." The nurse touched her hand gently. "That's all right. That's all right, sweetheart. We're going to take good care of you." 20 minutes later, the door opened and Travis walked in. He was carrying a bouquet of grocery store carnations and a paper cup of coffee. His eyes were red. He had changed into a clean polo shirt. He set the flowers on the rolling tray and pulled a chair close to her bed. Baby, oh Lord, thank you, Jesus." He took her hand. His palm was warm. She felt his thumb run across her knuckles, across the empty stripe of pale skin where her wedding ring used to sit. "Travis," she said. She let her eyes fill with tears that were real, just not for the reason he thought. "Travis, the nurse said my name is Amara. Is that right?" He froze. She felt it in his fingers. A small flinch, gone in less than a second. "Yes, baby. That's right. You're Amara. You're my wife." "I don't remember." She turned her head slowly, painfully on the pillow. "I don't remember your face. I don't remember anything." Travis stared at her. Something moved behind his eyes that she had never seen before, not in 12 years. It was not grief. It was not fear. It was a thing closer to calculation. Then his face crumpled, and he pressed her hand to his cheek, and he wept, loudly, the way he had wept at their wedding. "It's the trauma, baby. The doctor said it might happen. You hit your head real hard. But I'm here. I'm right here. I'm going to take care of you." He kissed her fingers. Then he asked, very softly, "Amara, baby, do you remember anything about the business? The catering company? Anything about the accounts?" She closed her eyes. She let one tear roll down toward her ear. "No," she whispered. "I don't remember anything." Travis squeezed her hand. "It's okay. We'll figure it all out. I'll handle everything. You just rest." Dr. Imani Pringle came in an hour later. She was a tall woman with locks pulled into a thick bun, kind brown eyes behind silver glasses, and a calm, steady manner that made Amara want to trust her. She asked Travis to step out so she could examine the patient privately. The moment the door clicked shut, Dr. Pringle picked up Amara's chart and pretended to read it. "Mrs. Pinkney," she said quietly, without looking up, "your scans are clean. There is no brain injury that would cause amnesia. None at all." Amara's heart pounded against her ribs. "I know," she whispered. Dr. Pringle finally looked at her. Their eyes met across the hospital bed, and a silent understanding passed between them, the kind of understanding that passes only between two black women who have lived long enough to know the shape of a problem before it is spoken out loud. "How long do you need?" Dr. Pringle asked. 3 weeks. Maybe 4. "And what am I telling your husband?" "Tell him it could be permanent. Tell him I might never remember. Tell him I need rest, quiet, and no stress." Amara's voice steadied. "And Dr. Pringle, please, I am asking you, woman to woman." Dr. Pringle set the chart down. She walked to the door and turned the lock. "Mrs. Pinkney," she said, "I had a husband like that once. He took my mama's house while I was finishing my residency. By the time I figured out what he had done, the deed was gone." She came back to the bedside. "I will write whatever you need me to write. You take your time. You get yourself ready. And when you are ready to bring that man down, you let me know." Amara closed her eyes. She felt the first real tear of the day slide down her face. Outside, in the hallway, Travis was already on his phone. He stepped into the stairwell so no one could hear him. He kept his voice low. "Brielle, listen. Listen to me. She doesn't remember anything. Not me. Not the business. Not a thing. Do you understand what this means?" He laughed. It was a small, ugly laugh. "This means everything is about to change." He did not know that, 3 floors above him, in a quiet hospital room with the lock turned, his wife was already changing it first. They sent Amara home on a Friday afternoon. The hospital wheelchair rolled across the parking lot of Roper, and the late September sun pressed hot against her face. Travis had brought her a pair of soft sweatpants and a t-shirt from her own closet. He kept up a steady stream of cheerful talk on the drive over the Ravenel Bridge. "This is the bridge, baby. We cross it almost every day. You catered a wedding right over there at Patriots Point last June, remember? Of course you don't remember. But you will. Little by little." The doctor said memories come back like puzzle pieces. Amara watched the harbor slide past the window. She did not say a word. Their house was a brick ranch on a quiet street in West Ashley. Mama Delphine was waiting on the porch when they pulled into the driveway. She stood up the moment she saw the car, both hands pressed against her chest. She was a small woman, thin but strong, with silver braids twisted into a low bun and skin the color of dark honey. She wore a long blue church dress and white sneakers. My baby. My baby. Travis helped Amara out of the car slowly. Mama Delphine came down the porch steps, gripped Amara's face in both hands, and kissed her on the forehead. Then she stepped back and studied her daughter's eyes for a long, long time. Amara saw the recognition pass through her mother's face. Mama Delphine knew. Mama Delphine had always known when something was wrong, ever since Amara was 4 years old and tried to hide a broken juice glass under the rug. Mama Delphine read her daughter's face the way the old folks on Wadmalaw Island read the sky for storms. But Mama Delphine did not say a word. She just patted Amara's cheek and said, in a calm, easy voice, "Come on inside, baby. Mama made some chicken and rice. You need to eat." Sienna was in the living room. She was 8 years old, with 2 thick puffs on either side of her head and her daddy's light brown skin and her mama's serious mouth. She was sitting on the rug with a coloring book. When the front door opened, she looked up. Her eyes went wide. "Mommy." She ran across the room. She wrapped her arms around Amara's waist so hard that Amara nearly fell. The pain in her shoulder flared white, but she did not let go. She buried her face in her daughter's hair and breathed in the scent of coconut oil and bubblegum shampoo, and for the first time in 2 days, she felt the cracked pieces of her own heart try to fit back together. "I missed you, Mommy. Daddy said you bumped your head and forgot stuff. Did you forget me?" Amara knelt down, ignoring the pain, and held her daughter's face in her hands. "Baby girl, I would never, ever forget you. Not in 100 years. Not in 1,000. Not ever." Travis cleared his throat behind them. "Now, baby, the doctor said you can't get worked up. Let's get you settled on the couch." Mama Delphine helped Amara to the couch. She placed a pillow behind her back and brought her a glass of sweet tea. Sienna climbed up beside her and laid her head on her mother's lap. Travis hovered in the doorway, scrolling on his phone. "I have to run out for a minute, baby. Some paperwork at the office. Mama Delphine, you good here?" Mama Delphine did not look up from her plate. "We fine." Travis grabbed his keys and left. The front door clicked shut. Mama Delphine waited until she heard the engine start and pull away. Then she set her fork down. She walked over to the couch. She sat on the coffee table directly in front of Amara, took both of her daughter's hands in hers, and looked into her eyes. "Baby, tell Mama what's going on." Amara opened her mouth. The whole thing came pouring out in a whisper, while Sienna napped against her thigh. The car accident. The hand reaching into her purse. The wedding ring sliding off her finger. The phone calls she had heard Travis make in the hospital stairwell when he thought she was asleep. The plan she had made with Dr. Pringle. Mama Delphine listened without blinking. When Amara was finished, the older woman took a long, slow breath. She closed her eyes for a moment, and her lips moved silently. Amara recognized the words. Her mother was praying in the old Gulaway, the way her grandmother had taught her, asking the ancestors to walk close. "Baby," Mama Delphine finally said. "You hear me? You hear me good? I've been knowing about that man for a long time." "What?" "I've been knowing. I just been waiting for you to know." Amara stared at her mother. "I seen him at the Piggly Wiggly down on Folly Road 4 months ago. He had a young woman with him, and he was buying her diapers." "Diapers, Amara." "And Sienna been out of diapers for 5 years." Amara's chest went cold. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I prayed on it. The Lord told me you wouldn't believe me. He told me you'd have to see it with your own eyes. And he told me that when the time came, he would put that man's face in the light himself." Mama Delphine squeezed her daughter's hands. "Baby, the Lord done put him in the light. Now you stand still and let Mama help you finish what's coming." Outside, a car door slammed. Travis was already back. He was not alone. There was a long, careful silence. "Niece, we need to talk in person. Tomorrow." "What is it?" "Travis came to my office 4 months ago with a quitclaim deed and asked me to notarize it. I refused. He went to somebody else. I tried to call you, but you were in Savannah for a wedding that weekend, and after that I figured the man had given up. But baby, I don't think he gave up. Amara's hand tightened around the small flip phone. Uncle Jerome. What did he do? Amara could not sleep that night. She lay in the guest bedroom because Dr. Pringle had written orders that she was to sleep alone for at least 2 weeks to avoid stress on her injured shoulder. Travis had grumbled about it, but had not argued. Amara stared at the ceiling fan and listened to the soft hum of the air conditioner and thought about the deed. She had bought the bakery building 5 years ago, free and clear, with the life insurance money from her father. Daddy had been a baker too. He had run a small place on King Street called Boudreaux's Sweet Shop for 31 years before a stroke took him on a Tuesday morning. The building was hers. Just hers. Travis had never touched a brick of it, or so she had believed. She got up before sunrise. She moved slow because of her shoulder. She dressed in soft pants and a loose top. Mama Delphine had a pot of coffee on the stove and grits warming on low. Sienna was still asleep. Travis's truck was not in the driveway. Amara checked twice. He came in around 3 in the morning, Mama Delphine said quietly, sliding a plate in front of her. I heard the door. Smelled liquor and perfume. He went straight to the shower. He left again at 5:30. Where did he go? He didn't say, but he took a duffel bag. Amara closed her eyes. She ate her grits. Tasha picked her up at 7. The morning was clear and cool. The sky over the Ashley River was the color of pearls. They drove down Folly Road in silence, then onto King Street, and Tasha parked behind the bakery. The shop was small but beautiful. Cream-colored brick. A blue awning Amara had picked out herself. A window full of cake stands and glass jars of buttercream cookies. The smell of butter and brown sugar lived in the walls. Tasha unlocked the back door. She had stayed up half the night printing statements. They were stacked in a manila folder on the prep table next to a thermos of coffee.
Sit down, sis.
You're going to need to sit down. Amara sat. Tasha laid the papers out one by one.
Look.
Withdrawals from the business operating account.
Look at the dates.
Look at the amounts. Amara looked. $2,000 on March 12th. $3,500 on April 4th. $8,000 on May 19th. $4,000 on June 22nd, $6,000 on July 30th, $12,000 on August 14th. That's almost $40,000 in 5 months. None of those withdrawals came through me, Tash. I don't sign for anything over $1,000 without a paper trail. They didn't come through you. They came through somebody who set themselves up as a signer on the account back in February. Look at the signature card. Tasha slid a copy of the signature card across the table. There was Amara's signature on the original line. And below it, on a new line dated February 14th, was a second signature. T. Pinkney. Amara stared at it for a long time. Her own handwriting was looped and gentle, the same handwriting she had used to sign her daddy's funeral guest book. Travis's signature was small and tight, like he was trying to hide it even as he wrote it. I never authorized this, Amara whispered. I know you didn't, because I'm the other authorized signer and I never authorized it either. He must have walked into that bank with a forged form. Where did the money go? I traced what I could. Some of it went to a property holding company called Hollings Pinkney Investments, LLC. Most of it went to a personal account at a different bank.
And sis.
Some of it went to Brielle Hayward. Amara's hands began to shake. How much to Brielle? $9,000 over 4 months. Labeled as consulting fees. She has not been on payroll here since March. Amara stood up. She walked to the back window. The sun was up now, glowing gold on the brick of the old building across the alley. She thought about her daddy. She thought about him standing at the oven every morning at 4 in the morning, his hands dusted in flour, humming hymns. She thought about the way he had kissed her forehead on the night before his stroke, and how he had told her, "Baby girl, the Lord done blessed you with steady hands and a steady mind. Don't let nobody talk you out of either one." She turned back around. Tasha, I'm going to lay it all out for you, and I'm going to ask you to stand with me. But before I tell you the plan, you need to know I'm not going to the police. Not yet. None till I have everything in my hand and nothing he can wiggle out of. I'm already standing with you. What do you need? Amara walked back to the prep table. I need you to keep coming to work like nothing has changed. Don't let him know we know. If he comes by, smile at him. If he calls, take the message. We're going to let him keep digging until he is in too deep to climb out. And in the meantime, I need you to start moving the catering contracts. Moving them into a new business entity. A new LLC. One that he is not on. I'm going to call Uncle Jerome today. He's going to help me set it up. We are going to quietly transfer every client, every vendor, every recipe, and every dollar into the new company. The old Sweet Sapphire will be a shell. Whatever he thinks he is stealing from, he will be stealing from an empty room. Tasha started to smile. Sis. What? You scary. Amara almost laughed for the first time in 4 days. But then Tasha's phone buzzed on the table. She looked down. The color drained from her face. What is it? Tasha turned the screen around. Brielle just posted on her Instagram story. From your house. From your bedroom. The photograph on Tasha's phone screen was small but clear. Brielle Hayward was sitting on the edge of Amara's bed. The white duvet Amara had picked out at HomeGoods 2 summers ago. The brass headboard. The framed photograph on the nightstand of Sienna in her kindergarten cap and gown. Brielle was holding up a coffee mug and pursing her lips for the camera. The caption read, "Good morning from home." Amara did not say anything for a long time. Her hand stayed flat on the prep table. Then she said, very quietly, Tash, take a screenshot. Save it. Send it to Uncle Jerome too. We're going to need every single piece. Tasha nodded and started tapping. Amara took a slow breath. Then she picked up the manila folder of bank statements and slid it into her tote bag. Drive me to Uncle Jerome's.
Now.
Uncle Jerome lived in a tall, narrow Charleston single house on Society Street, the kind with the side porch facing the garden. He met them at the door in press slacks and a soft cardigan, his white mustache neatly trimmed. He gave Amara a long hug. He smelled like sandalwood and old books. Come on up to the office, baby. Tasha, you too. His office was on the 2nd floor, with a long mahogany desk and shelves full of law books that had belonged to his father before him. There was a framed photo of Amara's daddy on the wall, smiling in his bakery apron. Uncle Jerome saw Amara look at it. Your father is sitting in that chair right now with us, niece. Don't you forget it. Amara sat. She spread the papers across his desk. Uncle Jerome put on his reading glasses. He went through each statement slowly. He examined the signature card under a small magnifying glass. He pulled a thick leather binder off a shelf and made notes on a yellow legal pad. Then he picked up his phone and called the Charleston County Register of Deeds. He spoke in a low, polite voice. He gave a parcel number. He asked them to pull up the deed history for the King Street Bakery property. He listened. He scribbled. He thanked the clerk and hung up. He set the phone down. He took his glasses off. Niece, listen to me. Tell me. The deed to the bakery was modified 6 weeks ago. A second name was added. Travis Andre Pinkney, listed as joint tenant with right of survivorship. The room got very still. How? Amara whispered. He used a quitclaim deed. He forged your signature just like he forged it on that bank card. The notary was a man named Lonnie Ferguson, runs a tax shop down on Meeting Street. I know that man. He notarizes anything anybody hands him, and he has been investigated 3 times by the state. Tasha cursed under her breath. Uncle Jerome, Amara said. Can we fix it? We can fix it, baby. But we have to move careful. If we file a fraud complaint right now, he will lawyer up and start moving assets. If we tip our hand, he might even take Sienna out of state to pressure you. We have to do this the smart way. What's the smart way? Uncle Jerome leaned back in his chair. Here is what we're going to do. We're going to set up a new revocable trust in your name only. We're going to put your James Island house into it tonight. Your daddy's bakery building, we are going to handle different because once a deed is fraudulent, we have to undo it through the courts. I will file a quiet title action on Monday morning. I will also file a civil complaint for fraud, forgery, and breach of fiduciary duty as your spouse. We will request an emergency hearing. And I will hand the criminal evidence over to my old friend at the solicitor's office at the same time. How long? 2 weeks to get the temporary protective orders.
6 to 8 weeks for the rest.
But baby, you're going to win every single piece. There is no judge in this county who looks at forged signatures and lets a man walk. Amara reached into her tote bag. She pulled out the small track phone. She set it on the desk. He thinks I don't remember anything, Uncle Jerome. He thinks I am sitting in that house with my head full of nothing. He is about to make every mistake a guilty man makes. Uncle Jerome smiled, slow and tired. Then we're going to give him room to make them, niece. We're going to give him plenty of room. That evening Amara went to Wednesday night service at Mount Zion AME Church with her mother. She wore a soft pink dress and a small white pillbox hat. The sling on her arm made her look fragile. Mama Delphine walked her up the aisle like she was a bride. The congregation murmured. Folks who had known Amara since she was in pigtails reached out to touch her hand as she passed. Pastor Eldridge Simmons was a tall, thin man with a gray mustache and a deep, slow voice. He gave a sermon that night from the Book of Esther. He talked about a woman who knew the truth before anybody else and held it in her mouth like a quiet flame, waiting for the right hour to set the table on fire. After the service, Pastor Simmons asked Amara and Mama Delphine into his office. He closed the door. He poured them each a small glass of water. Sister Delphine called me, he said gently. I have known your family since before you were born, Amara. I have prayed for you every day since I heard about the accident. I will not ask you what is going on in your house, but I want you to know that if you need this church to stand behind you, it will. We will have a place for you. We will have lawyers if you need them. We will have food and beds and quiet rooms. You are not by yourself. Amara nodded. She could not speak for a moment. Mama Delphine squeezed her hand. When they walked out into the parking lot, Travis's truck was idling in the lot. He was watching them through the windshield. He had been following them. Amara did not let her face change. Mama Delphine slipped a hand under her elbow and walked her slow and steady toward the truck, like a woman helping a fragile daughter home from a hospital visit. Travis rolled down his window. The yellow light from the church parking lot fell across half his face. Baby, I came to pick you up. Mama, you can head on home. I'll bring her in. Mama Delphine smiled with her mouth, but not her eyes. All right now, son. You drive careful. My baby's still hurting. Amara let Travis help her into the passenger seat. He buckled her seatbelt for her. His hands were gentle. His smile was wide. She watched him in the side mirror as he walked around the front of the truck. What were you doing at church, baby? He asked as they pulled out of the lot. Mama wanted me to go. She said the Lord would help my memory come back. He turned onto Calhoun Street. Did anything come back to you in there?
Bits.
The hymns. I remembered the words to a song I haven't heard in years. Pastor's voice felt familiar. But nothing about people. Nothing about us. Travis was quiet for a long minute. The streetlights slid yellow across the dashboard. Baby, I've been thinking. The doctor said stress can make this kind of thing worse. I've been talking to my cousin in Atlanta. He says there's a real good neurologist up there. Specializes in memory recovery. I think maybe we should drive up next weekend. Take Sienna. Make a little family trip out of it. You get a fresh evaluation. We stay at a nice hotel. Get out of Charleston for a minute. Amara kept her face still. Atlanta. Out of state. Away from Uncle Jerome. Away from Tasha. Away from her mother. Away from the bakery and the lawyers and every paper she needed to sign. That sounds nice, Travis. When? This Saturday. We leave Saturday morning. Okay. Whatever you think is best. Travis smiled. He put his hand on her thigh and squeezed gently. Amara smiled back at him and watched the road. When they got home, Sienna was already in bed. Mama Delphine had gone back to her own house on James Island for the night, but she had left a note on the fridge. Call me first thing. Amara made herself a cup of chamomile tea and went to the guest room. She locked the door behind her. She pulled out the track phone and texted Uncle Jerome. He is trying to take me out of state Saturday morning. Atlanta. With Sienna. Uncle Jerome called back inside of 2 minutes.
Niece.
Listen to me carefully. Do not get in that car.
He is planning something.
A man who has stolen this much money does not take a wife with amnesia on a road trip out of state for medical reasons. He is going to either get you to sign something while you are confused, or he is going to make sure you do not come back. Uncle Jerome.
Niece.
I am not trying to scare you. I am telling you the math. We have to move fast. Monday morning, I am filing everything. By Friday, I want a temporary restraining order. By Saturday, I want him out of that house. Can you do all that in 5 days? I am about to find out. The next 4 days went by in a quiet, careful blur. Amara stayed in the house. She pretended to nap. She let Travis bring her tea. She watched a lot of HGTV with Sienna curled up beside her. She let Travis kiss her forehead in the mornings before he left for his pretend meetings. She let him whisper to her about how excited he was for the Atlanta trip. Every afternoon, while Sienna was at school and Travis was out, Amara worked the phone. She and Tasha quietly set up the new LLC. They named it Boudreaux's Sweet Hands after her daddy. They moved the active client contracts one by one. They reassigned vendor accounts. Uncle Jerome filed the quiet title action on Monday afternoon. The judge agreed to an emergency hearing on Friday morning. Wednesday evening, Mama Delphine came back to the house with a quart of okra soup. She slipped a small piece of folded paper into Amara's hand under the kitchen table. Amara opened it later in the bathroom. It was an address on Spring Street downtown. Underneath, in her mother's careful handwriting, were 2 words. His apartment. That night, after Travis went to bed, Amara called Tasha.
Tash.
I need one more thing. Anything. I need you to drive me somewhere tomorrow afternoon. I need to see something with my own eyes. The address on Spring Street was a small white duplex with a wrought iron gate. Tasha parked across the street. Amara waited in the passenger seat with a baseball cap pulled low. They sat for 30 minutes. Then Travis's truck pulled up in front of the duplex. He got out.
He took out a key.
He unlocked the gate. He walked up the steps and let himself in like he had done it 100 times. 5 minutes later, Brielle came out onto the small front porch in a robe. She lit a cigarette. She blew smoke into the live oak above her head. She looked happy. Tasha quietly took photos with her phone. Time stamp, license plate of the truck. Brielle on the porch in the robe. That's enough, sis. Let's go. They drove back to West Ashley in silence. Tasha dropped Amara off at the corner of her street so that Travis would not see the car. Amara walked the last block slowly, her sling pinned to her chest, her face composed. When she walked in the front door, Travis was waiting on the couch. Where you been, baby? She stopped. She turned. She let confusion fill her face. Mama took me to get a milkshake. Was that wrong? He stared at her a long second. Then he smiled. No, baby. That's fine. But Amara saw it. The flicker. He was getting suspicious. Thursday morning was the longest morning of Amara's life. She lay in the guest bed with her eyes wide open, staring at the soft gray light coming through the curtains, listening to Travis move around the house.
He showered. He shaved.
She heard the small clatter of his razor against the sink. She heard him hum a song she did not recognize. She heard him pour his coffee and drop 2 slices of bread into the toaster. Then she heard him quietly turn the knob on her bedroom door. She closed her eyes the second before it cracked open. She made her breathing soft and even. She felt him stand in the doorway for a long minute. Then he came into the room. He was barefoot. He walked carefully. He stopped beside her nightstand. She heard the small sound of fabric on wood. He was going through her tote bag. She kept her breathing even. He moved slow. She heard the zipper of her pill bottle case. She heard him slide a hand into the inside pocket. He stayed there for what felt like a long time, but it was probably only 20 seconds. Then he set the bag back exactly where it had been. He stood there a second longer. Then she felt him lean down. His face came close to hers. His breath smelled like coffee. He whispered, so softly, she almost did not hear it. You better not be playing me, baby. Then he stood up and left the room. Amara opened her eyes after the front door clicked shut. She got up slowly. She walked to the tote bag. She checked everything. The track phone was still hidden in the lining behind the pill case, exactly where she had sewn it the night before with thread from her mother's sewing kit. Mama Delphine had taught her that trick when she was 9 years old. Always sew a secret pocket, baby. Women been hiding things in their dresses since before this country had a name. Travis had not found it, but he had been looking. She called Uncle Jerome the moment she was alone in the house. Uncle, he is suspicious. He searched my bag this morning. Then it is time. I have the temporary protective order ready. The hearing is at 9 in the morning. I am going to ask the judge to grant it without him present, on the grounds of imminent risk.
Niece.
I need you out of that house tonight. Sienna goes to school until 3. You pick her up at 3. Tasha picks both of you up. You go straight to your mama's house on James Island. Do not come back to West Ashley for any reason. Do not bring anything that matters. We'll get you everything you need. Yes, sir. She spent the rest of the morning packing carefully. She did not pack much. A change of clothes for herself and 3 for Sienna. Her daddy's old recipe book. The framed photograph of Sienna in her kindergarten cap. Her grandmother's gold chain with a small cross. The lockbox with her passport and her father's life insurance papers. She left her wedding album on the shelf. She left her clothes hanging in the closet. She left everything Travis had ever bought her. None of it had ever belonged to her anyway. At noon, Travis came home for lunch. He brought her a turkey sandwich and a cup of soup from Jason's Deli. He sat next to her on the couch and watched her eat. He talked about the Atlanta trip. He showed her photos of a hotel he had booked downtown. He talked about the breakfast buffet. He talked about a spa appointment he had made for her. He kissed the top of her head when he left. At 2:30, Amara picked up the phone. She called the front office at Sienna's elementary school. She told the secretary that she was checking her daughter out early for a doctor's appointment. The secretary, who had known Sienna since pre-K, did not ask any questions. Tasha picked Amara up at the back of the cul-de-sac at 2:45. They drove to the school. Sienna ran out to the car with her little pink backpack bouncing on her shoulders. Where are we going, Mommy? To Granny's house, baby. Is Daddy coming? Amara hesitated. Tasha glanced at her in the rear view. Not tonight, baby girl. Tonight, it's just us girls. Okay. Sienna kicked her sneakers happily against the back of the seat. Can we have grits for dinner? Whatever you want, baby. The drive to James Island took 20 minutes. Mama Delphine's house was a small yellow cottage with a deep porch and a swing and a magnolia tree in the front yard that had been planted by Amara's grandmother in 1962. The smell of jasmine and salt water wrapped around them as they walked up the path. Mama Delphine met them at the door with her arms wide open. She did not say a word. She just held Amara and Sienna against her chest for a long, long time. That evening, Amara helped her mother in the garden while Sienna chased a green tree frog around the porch. The September sky over James Island was a deep peach. The marsh grass was bending in a soft wind. Mama Delphine knelt by the herb bed and pulled up small clumps of mint. You know your grandmama used to say that the marsh remembers everything, Mama Delphine said. Every storm, every prayer, every woman that ever stood out here and asked for help. What did she ask for, Mama? She asked to outlive a bad husband once. She did. Amara laughed for the first time in 8 days. It was a small laugh, but it was real. That night, her phone buzzed with a text from Tasha. It was a forwarded screenshot from a private investigator Uncle Jerome had hired earlier in the week. Travis had been seen entering a Bank of America branch on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard at 4 in the afternoon with a folder. He had been seen leaving with no folder. He had moved more money. Amara took a slow breath. She looked across the porch at Sienna, who was now lying on her back on the porch swing with a green tree frog held carefully in her 2 small hands, telling it a story about a princess. Tomorrow morning was the hearing. Tomorrow morning the truth was going to walk into a courtroom. Charleston County Family Court was a 4-story beige building downtown that smelled like printer ink and old coffee. Friday morning at 9, the hallway outside courtroom B was packed with women clutching folders to their chests and men sitting on benches with their arms crossed. Amara wore a navy blue dress, low black flats, and her grandmother's gold cross. Mama Delphine sat beside her on a bench. Tasha sat on the other side. Uncle Jerome stood in front of them, going over a checklist on his legal pad. Niece. The judge today is Judge Cordelia Michael. She is fair. She is sharp. She does not tolerate fraud, and she does not tolerate lawyers wasting her time. We have a 45-minute slot. Will Travis be here? He was served at 8 this morning at his office.
He should be on his way.
If he doesn't show up, we proceed without him. The bailiff opened the courtroom door at 9 on the dot. Uncle Jerome walked Amara in. They sat at the petitioner's table. The respondent's table was empty. 3 minutes later, Travis came in. He was wearing a charcoal suit. He had cut himself shaving. There was a small piece of tissue stuck to his jaw. He had no lawyer with him. He stared at Amara across the courtroom. She did not look at him. Uncle Jerome had told her not to. All rise. Judge Michael was a tall, slender black woman in her late 50s with shoulder-length silver hair and a calm, steady face. She took the bench. She put on her reading glasses. She read the petition for a full minute without saying a word. Then she looked up. Mr. Pinkney, do you have counsel?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, I didn't have time. I just got served. Then I am going to give you a choice. You can request a continuance to retain counsel, which I will grant, but the temporary protective order requested by the petitioner will go into effect today regardless. Or you can proceed pro se and respond to the petition this morning. Which would you like to do? Travis swallowed. I can speak for myself, ma'am. Judge Michael nodded. Counsel for the petitioner. Proceed. Uncle Jerome stood up. He walked Judge Michael through everything. He did it calmly, without raising his voice once. He laid the forged bank signature card in front of her. He laid the quitclaim deed. He laid the bank statements showing $40,000 in unauthorized withdrawals. He laid the photographs from Spring Street. He laid Brielle Hayward's Instagram screenshot from Amara's bedroom. He laid the surveillance report from the private investigator showing Travis entering the Bank of America with the folder of cash. He did not lay the medical fraud. Amara had asked him to leave that out. She did not want Dr. Pringle involved. Dr. Pringle had taken a risk for her, and Amara was not going to put a black woman doctor's license on the table for one bad husband. Travis sat at his table and watched the papers stack up. His face went the color of dirty paste. When Uncle Jerome was finished, he sat down. Mr. Pinkney, Judge Michael said. How do you respond? Travis stood up. His hands were shaking. Your Honor. Your Honor, my wife was in a serious car accident 2 weeks ago. She has memory loss. She does not remember our marriage. People around her have been feeding her lies. The woman I was photographed with is an old employee. My wife and I had financial decisions that were joint. She forgot signing them. Mr. Pinkney. Forensic handwriting analysis attached as Exhibit 9 confirms the signature on the quitclaim deed is not your wife's. Are you telling this court that she signed it but does not remember doing so, or are you telling this court that someone else signed it? Travis opened his mouth. He closed it. Your Honor. Mr. Pinkney, I am going to ask you one more time. Did your wife sign the quitclaim deed? Travis stared at the floor. The courtroom was perfectly silent. Mama Delphine reached over and took Amara's hand under the table. No, ma'am, Travis whispered. A small breath went out of Amara that she had been holding for 2 weeks. Did you forge it? Your Honor. I was going to tell her. The business was struggling. I was trying to. Yes or no, Mr. Pinkney? Yes. Judge Michael wrote something on her notepad. She did not look at him again. I am granting the temporary protective order. Mr. Pinkney, you are ordered to vacate the marital residence within 24 hours. You are not to come within 500 feet of the petitioner, the petitioner's mother, or the minor child. You are not to access any joint bank account or any business account associated with Sweet Sapphire Catering or any related entity. The quitclaim deed is hereby voided pending the quiet title action. I am also issuing a freezing order on all assets in your name, pending the civil proceedings. The criminal referral will be forwarded to the solicitor's office this afternoon. We are adjourned. She struck the gavel. Travis stood frozen at his table. He looked across the room at Amara. For the first time in 12 years, she looked back at him directly. She did not blink. She did not soften. I remember everything, Travis, she said, quietly, just loud enough for him to hear. I have remembered everything since the moment your hand went into my purse. She turned and walked out of the courtroom on her uncle's arm. Mama Delphine and Tasha followed. The hallway outside the courtroom was bright with morning light.
Sienna was not with them.
She was at school. Amara stopped halfway down the hall and pressed one hand against the wall. Her shoulder hurt. Her chest hurt. But she did not cry yet. "Niece," Uncle Jerome said softly. "It is not over. But the worst part is over." Then his phone rang. He looked at the screen. He answered. He listened. His face changed. He hung up and turned to Amara.
"Niece.
"We have a problem." Travis just walked out of the courthouse and got in his truck and left. He did not go to his office. He did not go to his apartment. The investigator is tracking the truck. It is heading towards Sienna's school. Amara's blood went cold. She gripped Uncle Jerome's sleeve. "He cannot take her. He cannot."
"He is not going to take her, niece."
"Listen to me. Get in Tasha's car right now. Go straight to that school. I am calling the school office. I am calling Officer Drayton. I am calling the principal."
"Go. Now."
Tasha was already running. Mama Delphine moved faster than Amara had ever seen her move. They piled into Tasha's Toyota Camry. Tasha peeled out of the parking garage on Meeting Street and took the back streets toward West Ashley. Sienna's elementary school was a one-story brick building set back from the road, with a big yellow playground and a flagpole out front. When they pulled into the lot, 2 Charleston police cruisers were already parked at the entrance. Officer Camille Drayton, the same officer who had responded to Amara's crash 2 weeks earlier, was standing at the front door speaking with the principal, Mrs. Latifah Bennett, a stout woman in a red blazer. Travis's truck was nowhere in sight. Amara ran up the walkway with her shoulder hurting and her sling banging against her ribs. "My daughter, Sienna Pinkney, 2nd grade." "She is safe, Mrs. Pinkney," Officer Drayton said. "Your uncle called 12 minutes ago. We had a unit here in 8. Your husband pulled into the parking lot, sat in his truck for about 3 minutes, then drove away. We have his plates. We have him on the school camera. He never got out." Amara bent over with her hands on her knees.
She thought she might be sick.
Then she straightened. Mama Delphine put a hand on her back. "Where is he now?" Amara asked. "My partners are tracking the truck. He is heading north on I-26.
Toward Columbia, maybe.
Or Atlanta." "Atlanta," Mama Delphine said quietly. "He was always going to Atlanta." Mrs. Bennett brought Sienna out of the building. She had no idea anything had happened. She had been in art class. She was holding a paper plate painted to look like a sun, with yellow yarn glued around the edges. She ran to her mother and held up the plate. "Mommy, look what I made for Granny." Amara picked her up with her good arm. She held her so tight that Sienna squirmed.
"Mommy."
"Mommy, your sling." "Sorry, baby. Sorry." They drove back to James Island in silence. Officer Drayton followed them in the cruiser. She walked them to the front door of Mama Delphine's cottage and made sure all the locks were checked. She gave Amara her direct cell phone number. "Mrs. Pinkney, we will pick him up. He has now violated the protective order. That is a new charge on top of everything else. He will be in custody before the day is out." Officer Drayton was right. Travis was pulled over on I-26 just past Orangeburg at 3:27 that afternoon. He had a duffel bag of cash in the passenger seat. $23,000. He had taken it from a safety deposit box at the Bank of America branch on Sam Rittenberg. He was booked into the Charleston County Detention Center at 6 p.m. on charges of forgery, identity theft, embezzlement, breach of fiduciary duty, violation of a protective order, and grand larceny. The solicitor's office added a charge of fraudulent conveyance the following Monday. Amara did not go to the jail. She did not visit him. She did not write him a letter. She let Uncle Jerome handle every piece of communication that needed to happen.
Brielle.
Hayward was arrested 2 days later on charges of conspiracy and receipt of stolen property after the bank statements showed the $9,000 in wire transfers. Mr. Hollings, Travis's business partner, turned himself in the following week and agreed to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for a reduced sentence. He named every fake LLC. He named every account. The The quiet title action on the King Street Bakery went through in October. Amara walked into the Register of Deeds office on a sunny Tuesday morning with Uncle Jerome at her side and signed a single piece of paper. The clerk handed her a fresh deed with one name on it. Amara Renee Boudreau. She held it in her hands for a long minute. She thought about her daddy. She thought about him standing at the oven with flour on his hands, humming hymns. She thought about him kissing her forehead the night before his stroke. "Daddy," she whispered, in the empty marble hallway of the courthouse, "your shop is safe." Dr. Imani Pringle called her that same evening. The two women had not spoken since the day Amara left the hospital. Dr. Pringle's voice was warm and tired. "Mrs. Pinckney, I just wanted to call and see how you are."
Doctor.
"I owe you everything."
You don't owe me anything.
"You owe yourself a long rest and a good plate of food." "But Mrs. Pinckney." "Yes, ma'am. You should know. I had a colleague at the hospital who saw the order I wrote for your discharge. She was suspicious. She is a good doctor, and she pulled the file. But before she could ask me any questions, I had already documented the visit fully. I had noted that you reported memory disturbance and that I had recommended outpatient monitoring without diagnosing amnesia in the chart. I covered both our backs without telling you, because I did not want you carrying that weight while you were trying to save your daughter." Amara closed her eyes. "Dr. Pringle, thank you." "Black women hold each other up, Mrs. Pinckney. It is what we have always done. It is what we will always do. You take care now." She hung up. Amara sat on her mother's porch with the deed to her father's bakery in her lap and the lights of the marsh stretching out into the dark and Sienna asleep inside, and she let herself cry for the first time since the night of the crash. She cried for everything she had lost. She cried for everything she had kept. 6 months passed. Charleston moved through a soft, warm spring. The dogwoods bloomed white along Calhoun Street. The azaleas along the side of Mama Delphine's cottage turned the yard into a wall of pink. Sienna turned 9 and asked for a birthday party at the Children's Museum with a strawberry cake, and Amara made the cake herself, 3 layers, with cream cheese frosting and fresh berries arranged in the shape of a sun. Travis was sentenced in February. He took a plea deal on the morning of the trial. 11 years in state prison, with the possibility of parole after 7. Brielle Hayward got 3 years. Mr. Hollings got 18 months and lost his real estate license forever. Amara filed for divorce the week after Travis was sentenced. Uncle Jerome handled it. There was no contest. Travis had nothing left to fight with. The divorce was finalized in April. Sienna asked about her father exactly once, on a Sunday afternoon in March, while they were eating peach cobbler on Mama Delphine's porch.
Mommy.
"Why is Daddy in jail?" Amara set her fork down. She thought about it for a long time. Mama Delphine kept rocking quietly in her rocking chair, letting her daughter find the words. "Baby," Amara said, "Daddy did some things that were wrong. He took money that didn't belong to him. He took things from Mommy that he was supposed to take care of. He lied to people. And when grown-ups do those things, sometimes they have to go somewhere quiet for a long time to think about what they did." "Is he sorry?" "I don't know, baby. Only Daddy knows that." Sienna chewed her cobbler thoughtfully. "Can I write him a letter sometimes?" "You can write him a letter anytime you want, baby. Mommy will help you mail it. He is still your daddy." "Okay." Sienna picked up her fork again. "Granny, can I have more?" Mama Delphine smiled and slid another piece onto her plate. Amara watched her daughter and her mother on that porch in the soft pink light, and she thought, very quietly, that this was what victory actually looked like. It was not loud. It was not a courtroom. It was not a verdict. It was a child eating peach cobbler with 2 women who loved her and would always love her, and a sky that did not have a single cloud in it. The new business, Boudreau's Sweet Hands, opened officially in May. Amara kept the King Street Bakery for the storefront. She and Tasha expanded the catering side. They added a wedding cake studio in the back room. They hired 3 new pastry assistants, all young Black women, 2 of them daughters of women Mama Delphine knew from church. Pastor Simmons came by on opening day and prayed over the threshold. He said the prayer in the old call and response way that the Boudreau family had known for generations. "Lord, May every loaf that leaves this oven feed somebody who is hungry. May every cake that leaves this counter celebrate somebody who is loved. May every dollar that lands in this register come back 10 times over to the people who have stood in this room with clean hands and a clean heart.
Amen.
The congregation answered, Amen. Sweet Sapphire Catering, the original company, was quietly dissolved that summer. Every contract was already with Boudreaux's sweet hands. The empty LLC was wound down with a single piece of paper. Travis's name vanished from the public record of Amara's business life, as if it had never been there. She did not date. She did not look. She was not ready, and she did not know if she ever would be ready, and she had stopped feeling like she had to apologize to herself or to anybody else about that. She had a daughter to raise. She had a mother to take care of. She had a business that fed 30 Charleston weddings a year. Her hands were full. Her heart was full. There was no room in either one for a man, and the absence of a man did not feel like a hole. It felt like a quiet open window. On a Saturday morning in late June, Amara drove Sienna out to Sapelo Island, off the Georgia coast. Mama Delphine came too. They took the small ferry across the Salt Creek. The water was the color of tea. Pelicans floated above them like slow gray kites. Mama Delphine's older cousin still lived on Sapelo, in a small gullah community that had been there since before the Civil War. They had a family reunion every summer. Long tables under live oaks. Smoked mullet and red rice and butter beans and sweet potato pie, and the kind of laughter that traveled 4 generations deep. An old aunt named Miss Loretta, who was 86 years old and remembered Amara's grandmother as a young girl, took Amara's face in her hands at the end of the day. "Baby," Miss Loretta said. She had cataracts in one eye and her voice was thin but strong. "You stand up straight. You hear me?" "Yes, ma'am. Your grandmama walked through more than you ever walked through, and she came out on the other side, and she planted that magnolia tree in your mama's yard with her own 2 hands. Your daddy worked at that oven every morning for 31 years and never once raised his voice to a customer. You come from people. You come from people who stand." "Yes, ma'am. Don't you ever bend for a man who would let you bleed, baby. Don't you ever." "No, ma'am." Miss Loretta kissed her forehead. Amara felt the kiss long after they had taken the ferry back. That night, Amara stood on the porch of Mama Delphine's cottage on James Island. Sienna was asleep upstairs with her cheek pressed against her favorite stuffed rabbit. Mama Delphine was in her rocking chair with her Bible open on her lap. The marsh was singing its slow night song. The fireflies were out. Amara held her grandmother's gold cross in her hand. She thought about the rainy night on Maybank Highway. The smell of burning oil. The hand inside her purse. She thought about every step since. She did not feel proud. She felt steady. She felt like a woman whose feet were on the ground for the first time in 12 years. Mama Delphine looked up from her Bible. "You all right, baby?" Amara smiled.
Mama.
"I am all right. I am going to be all right." The wind moved through the magnolia tree. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called once across the marsh, and the marsh, just as her grandmama had always said, remembered. 1 year later, on the anniversary of the crash, Amara stood in the kitchen of Boudreaux's sweet hands at 4 in the morning. She was alone. The oven was warming. Flour was already dusted across the counter. Tasha would arrive at 6. The girls at 7. The shop would open at 8. She was making her father's recipe for cinnamon swirl bread, the one he had made every Friday morning for 31 years. She rolled the dough out on the marble counter. She pressed her palms into it the way he had taught her when she was 5 years old, standing on a stool beside him in the old kitchen. She thought, for one quiet second, about the woman she had been in the front seat of that crumpled Honda Pilot. She thought about how that woman had not died. She thought about how that woman had been born. Outside, the sky over King Street was just beginning to turn pink. The first delivery truck rumbled past. A cardinal sang on the awning above the front door. Amara Renee Boudreaux folded the dough over itself, brushed it with butter, and slid it into the oven. The day began.